Hello, and welcome back to the Celebrity Death News channel. This week, the United States mourned the passing of several prominent individuals whose work and influence left an indelible mark on culture, entertainment, politics, and society. These were people who touched the hearts of millions, from iconic artists to groundbreaking public figures, each shaping the very fabric of American life in their own unique way. As we reflect on their legacies, we are reminded of their dedication, creativity, and the enduring impact they had on the world around them. Their passing is not just a loss to their families and friends, but to the entire nation, a poignant reminder of how deeply one life can affect the course of history. This week, we honor their memory and celebrate the lasting contributions they made to the American story.
Cecilia Gentili, Pose star and LGBTQ+ advocate, dies at 52, has passed away at the age of 52. The news was confirmed by a post on Gentili's Instagram stories, sparking an outpouring of tributes from friends, co-stars, and the broader LGBTQ+ community. Dominique Jackson, Gentili's co-star on Pose, shared a heartfelt tribute on Instagram, expressing her deep sadness over the loss. "Even in death, you are a force to be reckoned with. Your legacy, one of movement, love, and compassion, unapologetic and true," Jackson wrote. "I thank you dearly for all the work you have done. You sacrificed, boldly telling your truth and living it, and for that, you have changed and influenced many lives in the world. I love you forever, beautiful, strong sister. Rest well." Jackson also shared a clip from Pose, where Gentili played a key role and later described her late friend as an activist, an icon, a trailblazer, a mother, a wife, an actress and comedian, an amazing sister, and a phenomenal human being. The Pose cast was not the only community to honor Gentili. The LGBTQ+ advocacy group GLAAD also paid tribute, describing her as a pillar in the trans community, a dedicated advocate, a striking actress on the hit TV show Pose, an incredible journalist, and a sex worker. They also shared a powerful quote from Gentili, taken from the anthology Surviving Transphobia, where she had written, "I say this to trans people, trans women of color, and to trans women of color who are undocumented or sex workers or both, people like me. Do what you can to achieve whatever level of empowerment you can get, but also be safe. I'll probably never call myself radical, especially in two countries with such high rates of trans femicide and histories of coups. I'm okay with it. I never want to judge my work by how radical I am, but I do judge it on what I'm doing for my people and for myself." Gentili's death marks a tragic loss for both the entertainment world and the LGBTQ+ community, where she had been an outspoken and compassionate advocate for trans rights and visibility. A powerful legacy, from pose to advocacy. Cecilia Gentili's career was one of both artistic achievement and social impact. As an actress, she was perhaps best known for her portrayal of a trans woman on Pose, a groundbreaking television series that celebrated the lives of LGBTQ+ people of color in the ballroom culture of 1980s and 1990s New York. Her role was emblematic of her broader mission to highlight the stories of trans individuals, especially those from marginalized communities, and to fight for a world where such voices are heard and respected. On Pose, Gentili played the role of an unwavering, passionate character who was as full of heart as she was of strength. It wasn't just her acting that made her memorable, but the way she embodied the spirit of the community she was representing. Her portrayal resonated with many viewers, both within and outside the LGBTQ+ community, for its authenticity and its emotional depth. But Gentili's contributions to the world extended far beyond acting. She was an outspoken advocate for trans rights, focusing particularly on the issues facing trans women of color and undocumented trans individuals. Throughout her life, Gentili used her platform to advocate for justice, equality, and safety for marginalized people, using her own experiences as a sex worker and trans woman to amplify the voices of others in her community. Her advocacy was deeply informed by her lived experiences, and her messages were always rooted in a desire to empower others. Gentili's work spoke to the intersectionality of the LGBTQ+ struggle, acknowledging that for many trans people, particularly trans women of color, the fight for equality and safety was complicated by other forms of discrimination, such as racism, classism, and immigration status. Activism and speaking out. From her early years in the LGBTQ+ community to her later work as a prominent activist, Gentile's approach to advocacy was always direct and unapologetic. As a sex worker, she was acutely aware of the dangers faced by trans women of color, particularly those in the sex trade, and she fought for their visibility and rights. In her writings and public statements, Gentile was frank about the realities of transphobia, violence, and systemic inequality, but she also spoke about empowerment and resilience. Her work as an advocate and journalist was instrumental in shining a light on the specific challenges faced by undocumented trans women and sex workers. As she shared in the quote that GLAAD highlighted after her death, Gentile had a deep understanding of the precarious position many trans people, particularly trans women of color, find themselves in. She urged her peers to seek empowerment, but also to be cautious and protect the Ed Mintz, CinemaScore founder and trailblazer in moviegoer polling, dies at 83. Ed Mintz, the visionary founder of CinemaScore, the industry standard service for audience polling in the motion picture business, passed away on February 6th at the age of 83. CinemaScore, renowned for its proprietary Coca-Cola algorithm developed by Mintz, became an invaluable tool for studios and exhibitors from its inception in the early 1980s, offering a reliable domestic box office gauge through audience grades on opening night. Prior to the pandemic, an A+ grade from CinemaScore typically indicated a film would achieve a 4.8x multiple of its opening weekend gross in the US and Canada. A B+ forecasted a 3.2x multiple, C+ and D+ predicted around 2.4x, and an F suggested a 2.2x multiple. Mintz, who had a passion for mathematics since his teenage years, even publishing a book, The Mintz Method: Math on Square Roots, conceived the idea for CinemaScore in 1978 when he was in his late 30s. The idea sparked during a visit to see The Cheap Detective, a comedy directed by Robert Moore and written by Neil Simon, which he had been eagerly anticipating. After spending money on dinner, babysitters, and tickets, Mintz found the movie disappointing. Frustrated by the disconnect between the critic's glowing review and his own experience, Mintz had an epiphany. Why rely on the opinion of one or two critics when a poll of 500 viewers could offer a more representative response? This was the seed that grew into CinemaScore. The concept quickly gained traction, and soon after, while attending high holiday services at his temple, Mintz was handed a pledge card with perforated donation amounts. The simplicity of the design inspired him to create CinemaScore's iconic, easy-to-complete audience polling ballot. Mintz's proprietary algorithm was fine-tuned over time, becoming a cornerstone for Hollywood studios as a critical measure of a film's potential success. As social media began to flood audiences with conflicting opinions about film releases, Ed developed a method to distill this vast amount of data into a single, reliable score, said Rob Moore, former vice chairman of Paramount Pictures, in a tribute to Mintz. His system helped guide films through their opening campaigns, shaping their trajectory in ways that were invaluable. Mintz often personally drove from CinemaScore's Las Vegas headquarters to meet with studio executives, signing contracts and discussing the results of audience feedback on opening nights. Late-night calls with distribution teams to debate or assess the significance of CinemaScore grades were a regular part of the process. As former Sony Global Distribution chief Jeff Blake fondly recalled, Ed's system may not have been high-tech at first. Back in the day, it was basically a punch card, but it was timely and it worked. A good grade could buoy morale, and a less-than-expected grade provided hope. Either way, Ed was a marketing exec's best friend. CinemaScore's big break came in the mid-1980s with a partnership with AMC Theaters. Mintz demonstrated that the service could help AMC decide which films to book in its multiplexes, proving CinemaScore's value as an essential tool in the industry. Ed was a true pioneer, said Dan Feldman, former chief of distribution at Warner Brothers. His success with CinemaScore was not only deserved, but a testament to his foresight. A moment of personal recognition for Mintz came in 2018, when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson called him an icon, a tribute that made Mintz's day, according to his family. Born on December 24, 1940, Mintz graduated from the University of Wisconsin with a degree in mathematics. In the 1970s, he founded Dentamedics, a company that introduced computerized billing to the dental industry. As a computer programmer, Mintz even created his own software to generate CinemaScore's polling data and continued to use DOS well into the 2000s, long after the programming language had fallen out of common use. Beyond the world of cinema, CinemaScore's polling services extended into other industries, including product placement, where Mintz provided valuable insights for companies such as Anheuser-Busch. It was also used by Las Vegas casinos to assess the popularity of new slot machines. Ed will always be remembered as A+++ in the history books, said Jeff Goldstein, Warner Brothers' domestic distribution chief. He created an essential global benchmark for the entertainment industry. Rest in peace, our dear friend. Toby Keith dies, country music legend. Was 62, Toby Keith, the celebrated country music icon and Songwriters Hall of Fame inductee, passed away on Monday at the age of 62 after a courageous 3-year battle with stomach cancer. His family confirmed the news in an emotional post on Instagram. Toby Keith passed peacefully last night, February 5th, surrounded by his family. He fought his fight with grace and courage. Please respect the privacy of his family at this time. Keith's death marks the end of an era for country music, leaving behind a rich legacy of chart-topping hits and millions of fans around the world. Born Toby Keith Covell on July 8, 1961, in Clinton, Oklahoma, Toby Keith grew up in a musical household. He was drawn to music from an early age, influenced by his grandmother, who ran a supper club in Fort Smith, Arkansas. There, Keith was introduced to live music, as his grandmother would hire bands to perform for the club's clientele. This exposure sparked his passion for country music, which would later define his career. Keith began performing in local bars and clubs, eventually catching the attention of Nashville's music scene. His raw talent, distinctive voice, and larger-than-life persona quickly made him one of the genre's most iconic stars. Toby Keith's breakthrough moment came in 1993 with the release of his debut single, Should Have Been a Cowboy, which topped the country charts. The song became a defining anthem for the genre, and Keith's career was off to a stunning start. The success of this single paved the way for a string of hits, many of which became staples of country music. From 1993 to 2011, Keith amassed an impressive 36 top 10 hits on Billboard's Hot Country Songs chart, with 20 of those reaching number 1. He released a total of 19 studio albums, 2 Christmas albums, and 5 compilation albums, 12 of which were certified million sellers. His combination of traditional country, honky-tonk, and patriotic anthems struck a chord with audiences across the United States and beyond. Among his most famous tracks were How Do You Like Me Now, 1999, You Shouldn't Kiss Me Like This, 2000, I Want to Talk About Me, 2001, My List, 2001, and courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, The Angry American, 2002. The latter, released in the wake of the 9/11 attacks, became one of Keith's signature songs, resonating deeply with American pride and patriotism. Other notable hits include Beer for My Horses, 2003, I Love This Bar, 2003, American Soldier, 2003, and As Good As I Once Was, 2005. Keith's ability to blend traditional country with contemporary sounds, along with his bold, unapologetic lyrics, helped him carve out a distinct place in the country music landscape. His songs often reflected his personality, his pride in his American roots, his love for a good time, and his deep connection to his fans. Over the course of his career, Toby Keith sold more than 25 million albums in the U.S. and 40 million worldwide, making him one of the best-selling country artists of all time. His albums were not only commercial successes, but also critical ones. He was known for his work ethic, touring extensively, and delivering high-energy performances to audiences all over the world. Keith's powerful voice, combined with his knack for songwriting, cemented his status as a country music legend. In 2015, Keith was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, a fitting honor for an artist whose career was built on his remarkable talent as a songwriter. His catalog of hits and his legacy as a pioneering figure in country music ensured that his place in the genre's history was secure. In addition to his music career, Toby Keith also explored acting and film production. In 2005, he starred in Broken Bridges, a drama directed by Stephen Goldman, in which he played a washed-up country singer trying to rebuild his life. The film also starred Kelly Preston, Burt Reynolds, and Tess Harper, but it was Keith's performance that stood out to many. In 2008, Keith took on the role of both writer and actor in the comedy Beer for My Horses, which was based on his hit song of the same name. The film, which also starred Willie Nelson, was a lighthearted, action-packed story of two country lawmen who embark on a cross-country adventure to rescue a friend. Despite his success in film, Keith always maintained that his true love was music, and he continued to focus on his musical career while dabbling in acting when opportunities arose. Keith was also known for his unwavering support of the U.S. military. He made nearly a dozen trips overseas to perform for American troops as part of the USO's tours, often bringing laughter and joy to soldiers stationed in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. His songs, particularly,